Hi everyone, my name's Mike and welcome to the channel. Isn't this a beautiful day? This is what the weather's starting, this is springtime in North Wales. So the bike that we're talking about today, and we're going to be testing today, is it's a bike that we've been after for a while. We're all Moto Guzzi riders and we all love the brand and got a lot of history with it. But this bike that we're taking out is like the future of Guzzi from now going forward. It's a new platform, it's a new water-cooled one. It's the V100 Mandello, and what a bike, fantastic. We all just absolutely loved it. In fact, most of us said it's the best bike we've ever ridden, but I won't blather on about it here. There's plenty more to come where you can see coming up. So this is another one from A&D Motorcycles, so thank you very much to Sally for letting us use the bike for the day and do the video on it. We've got plenty more coming up. We're talking to some people with some lovely 60s and 70s classic bikes, so we're going to be making a return to doing quite a few classic bikes. Reason being, fairly obvious, winter in the UK isn't the best, and we obviously don't want to ask people to take their beautiful bikes out in the horrible weather. So now that the weather's starting to improve and you hear the birds singing, we can start getting the classic bikes out again, start videoing them. So that's to look forward to. We did promise in the last video that we'd be going to be doing a 3 bike where you choose the bike. And that was in conjunction with our friend Ross Campbell, who owns the bikes. Now, unfortunately, Ross got knocked off one of his bikes last week or a couple of weeks ago, and he's okay, but he's going to be on crutches in a wheelchair for the next 6 weeks or so. So that's kind of delayed things on that front. So we're just going to push forward and just keep bringing bikes out a little bit more regularly than we were, because the weather's improved. So once again, thanks very much, Sally, for letting us use the bikes at A&D. And if you like what we're doing, please consider giving us a like and subscribe if you think we deserve it. And with that, on with the show. Okay, so this is Mike riding it now. So first off, let's have a listen to it. Sounds great. Sounds like a traditional Moto Guzzi, except if you listen, there's a slight whistle to it. So I don't know whether that's cam change or the valve gear, or the fact that it's now water cooled and you can hear the top end mechanical noises more, but it sounds great. It sounds much better than I was expecting with the Euro 5 emissions and everything. I was expecting it to be a lot less raughty than it sounds, but it's excellent. So what's it go like? Well, you know, it's probably the best bike I've ever ridden. It goes brilliantly. It's I've owned Moto Guzzis in the past. We've all owned Moto Guzzis in the past, but this is probably 25% more everywhere. The handling is great. It's got that traditional Moto Guzzi elastic torque. It spins up well. It's got great low down thump as well. And if we look at it here, when I'm in the 30s and at low speed, fueling's perfect. It rides beautifully. It's really easy to ride, to be honest. Sometimes Guzzi's can be a bit of a challenge at low speed, the same way that air-cooled Ducatis can be, but this is just perfectly behaved. The fueling's spot on, and there's no driveline lash. It's just lovely to ride at any speed, really. The only criticism really I have of it is I'm 6 foot, and I found the leg difference. It was a little bit short in the leg for me, but I've got quite long legs. But handling wise, I think that's the high spot of the bike. It's really good at low speed, but it comes into its own at high speed. Like when the bike's leant over on the edge of the tyre, you get this fantastic feedback through it, and it's really, really stable. The Griso was a great handling bike, but this is a notch above that. And it's also, as I said, good at low speed. Richard's downsizing his bikes, but he got off this saying how manageable it was. So yeah, it's fantastic. It's like Guzzi's, but 25% more. I recently rode a RS 1250 BMW R1250 RS, which is a direct competitor. So how does it compare with that? Well, I'd say that the BMW's got more power. It's got that barrel-chested boxer grunt, which is a bit more than this. Plus, it's 140 horsepower. This is 115. But I think this has got it over the RS in terms of handling, and that's saying something, because those RSs are just fantastic handling bikes. So you can tour on this, you can scratch on this. It's a fantastic bike on roads like this. You take it out onto the Welsh roads, it's just in its natural element. It's a really enjoyable bike, and it's got that Italian brio. It's vivacious. It's words that you wouldn't normally use to describe a German bike. There's something about an Italian bike, and this bike has got oodles of it. It's a modern bike, but it's still got those. It's still got the charm of a Moto Guzzi, and by charm I don't mean clunky gearbox, and I mean it's got a style of its own. So would I like one of these? You bet your life I'd like one of these. I think they're a superb bike, and in fact I'd love to try the S model, which has got the Olin suspension on it, but I'd take one of these. So if you're interested in one of these, go along and have a test ride, especially if you go to A&D. Take this bike out and take it out on these roads. I can assure you, you'll be very impressed. So thanks to A&D for letting us have this bike, yeah, cracking bike. Well done, Moto Guzzi. Hi everyone, welcome to Lemon Drizzle Gang. We've gathered together again, and today we've taken out a Moto Guzzi from A&D Motorcycles, and it's the magnificent new V100 Mandello.
Free Nelson Mandello.
Fantastic bike. So, what do we all think of it?
What, the Guzzi?
Dave?
Yeah, no, superb. It's, as you said, I think John said in the cafe when we were just getting a cup of tea, best bike you've ever ridden.
Yeah.
And you asked me, and I said, it isn't the best bike I've ever ridden. The best bike I've ever ridden was a BM R1250 RS.
Yeah.
Very similar bike, sports tourer, one of its competitors, shaft drive. And the BM, it was Ian Cullis's, you know him, and he let me ride it for an hour, and I said to him, that is the best bike I've ever ridden in terms of comfort to handling ratio.
And you still reckon that's the case after riding
Probably,
the V100?
but there's very little in it. and they're both superb. So it wouldn't tip the balance either way. What I prefer about the Guzzi's a nicer bike.
Soul.
It's soul, and it's nicer looking than a 1250 RS, and some would argue that's not a huge high watermark.
And I think it's a bit more wieldy.
It is a bit more wieldy.
It's less. They're quite big, aren't they? Those 11. So okay.
So but a superb bike. Yeah. So, and the fact that it's even close to that first time out of the blocks.
It's incredible. So what did you think, Rich?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, I've only got one modern-ish bike in my fleet, a V7, which is 7-8 years.
That's another Guzzi
old.
for those.
But, I mean, that is a retro bike, as everybody knows, and that is light years ahead in terms of riding capability, braking, handling, and all the rest. Comparing it to the BM, Dave, and yes, it is the best bike I've ever ridden. I think the magic ingredient is soul stroke. It's the sound. You don't get that with a modern BMW so much, do you?
No, it does sound great.
No, beautiful.
I think that's it. It's equivalent to the BMW with a little bit extra. And the other thing I will say is when the pictures of this first came out, we were on our messenger chat, and we were all joking that the white and red one that we've took out today looked like the old CX500
Eurosport.
But what I will say is, when you see them in the flesh, they do look.
And especially in sunlight, that paint just pops, doesn't it?
It does,
But it's my least favourite colour of them all, but it still looks great.
Although, funnily enough, I prefer that one to the red one, which is sacrilege. You think, red on an Italian bike, that's the right one. But no, I prefer
What about
that.
you, John? What did you think of it?
Well, what impressed me the most was just the fact that I became part of the machine. As soon as I sort of sat on the seat and took off, you just felt as if you were part of the machine, like the old Spitfire pilots used to say. They became part of the aeroplane.
The Japanese have a word for that. It's called Gembatai, which means horse and rider as one.
Yeah, that's right. They use that with the MX-5 design.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
You're locked in, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And the handling, I've never known such a sort of high-powered bike as that handles so well. I previously owned a Moto Guzzi Grigio, and at low speed that was a nightmare. But this is absolutely amazing.
Well, you produced this as well, didn't you? So you had the forecourt experience.
I mean, me and Mike used to rag Grigios. Your old Grigio was Mike's beforehand. I had an 8-valve Grigio, and we both said in terms of riding position they're actually quite similar. Sort of staked out, sports toury, flat bars. And the Grigios handled a lot better than they had any right to, especially at speed. They were great. But this is like...
Well, it reminded me of the Grigio. I got off the bike and I said, it's the Grigio you always wanted it to be.
Grigio plus 20%, you said.
Exactly. And that's how it felt. Like the Grigio's got this wonderful, on the edge of the tyre,
really stable.
Mid-corner, really stable. This has got exactly the same, except
it's got it everywhere.
It's got the crack out of the corner. It's quite it's a real hot rod.
Yeah, it is a hot rod. Yeah.
Presumably, this is quite a lot lighter than a Grigio and shorter wheelbase.
20 kilos. Maybe.
Yeah, about 20 kilos lighter. Yeah. And you're right, Rich. Shorter wheelbase, more modern dynamic, obviously, more modern suspension. It's 20 years younger,
and
isn't it?
Lower. Presumably, centre of gravity is a bit lower.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, maybe. What it has got compared to the Grigio is the engine. It's got way more mid-range torque. It's not a lot more powerful than, say, an 8-valve, my old 8-valve Grigio, the White Rhino we used to call it. A few brake horsepower more, but my God, that engine, it's like you said, a hot rod. It sounds better off the bike than it does on, doesn't it? John opened it up, and when it came past it, and this intake honk is like a V8 muscle car.
It's like the Australian V8 supercars.
Yeah.
It's got that
It's V8, mate, yeah, like a Holden. And that's where the soul comes from. I mean, I wasn't expecting it. We always have this discussion, and I have it with some people I've met recently who've got V85s, and they say, the Guzzi V85 is the best Guzzi I've ever ridden, but it's not as Guzzi-ish as previous Guzzis. And same with this one, but I don't think it's any less Guzzi-ish than the V85.
I don't think it's any less Guzzi-ish than the Grigio.
There you go.
It's still got that rocky thing, because when you sit at a set of lights and blip it,
it shakes its tail, like a wet dog.
I find it very, very smooth, actually.
That's the thing. I think that's where the progress has been made, and to some Guzzi files, they probably don't like it, but it is so well mannered at low speed. Doing U-turns or whatever, there's none of the lurches.
Yeah, it's like
clutch,
riding through the villages that we did today, and it's you can ride it.
Observing the speed limit, obviously.
Yeah.
It is. It's very.
Well, I always observed the speed limit all day.
I mean, it's the first Guzzi of its time that you don't have to kind of make excuses or use the soul word or character word, a word you don't like, to kind of make excuses for the fact it's got some shortfalls, because it hasn't really got any shortfalls. It's still got some Guzzi flavour. It's still got character. It's still got soul. We've all said that, but my God, it works well.
Yeah,
it's a thoroughly modern.
We were saying earlier on, it's not good despite being a Guzzi.
Yeah,
it's good because it's good.
Yeah, it's good because it's good.
It's good, and it's. I'm really happy because I love Guzzis.
So let's get something out of the way. Sorry, go on.
Just one thing. I don't really understand the flaps that come out.
That's what I was going to mention them. The elephant in the room. So everyone's a bit obsessed with the flaps in the magazine tests and the previews. Oh, first active aerodynamic bike in the world, but it doesn't define the bike. It doesn't get in the way. I mean, one guy we met today said, "Well, it's just another thing to go wrong." Well, okay, but you could say that about any feature on a bike. Heated handlebar grips, something to go wrong. Is it useful or not? Well, Bike Magazine this month reckoned it was in pouring rain. It stopped his crotch getting wet. You can't tell the difference on a day like today, that's for sure.
Did anyone notice them coming out?
No,
That's
the whole point. They're there as a feature, but I didn't even notice them.
But maybe that's a good thing.
Maybe.
Because it's not about, ooh, look at that, active air. It's just, you just get on with riding it. And you just get on with enjoying it. And, none of that technology gets in the way.
No, I looked, when I was doing my onboard ride, I looked down at the tank to make sure that I included the flaps. But I didn't. I had to think about it.
But to be honest, it's such a nice day. I was playing around with the screen while I was riding, and I couldn't really tell the difference with the screen down and the screen up. I bet if it was a cold February day and it was raining, you'd have the flaps out and you'd have the screen up, and you'd be thanking God for it.
Yeah. The other thing I found was that on the downside was the actual dashboard. Obviously, it's a digi-dash, but it wasn't as clear.
No, I found it
in
a
the
little
sunlight
bit.
as I find my own V85.
Well, the V85s have got a little cowl, haven't they, that keeps the sun off, and TFTs need the sun keeping off.
Yeah, I found it hard to. I could read the numbers, but the kind of the rev counter.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things you get used to.
You would have to get used to.
Same with the switchgear. We were puzzling with the menus, trying to work out how to get it into sport mode, because we need sport mode, don't we? But again, once you've owned it a week. All that would be super intuitive. I mean, everything about it, other than that menu navigation and that, is super intuitive. It is a wasp.
You know why? It's got the Lemon Drizzle gang colours. That's why I wanted to be on the film.
Good explanation. So
I'm just wondering whether there was so much on that dash, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Where you might be able to change the
I think you can.
So the background becomes light and then...
You can on the V85, can't you?
Well, you've got a night mode. You can't switch much of it. What's interesting as well is there's the S model inside in the showroom. It's sold. The green and silver one, like the colour of my V85.
What's the name?
Centenario.
It's not called the Centenario on the V100. It's just called the S two-tone, and we all love the look of that, don't we?
Yeah,
the two-tone.
Definitely.
What else you get with that is you get a quick shifter, you get heated grips, and you get the active Olin suspension. Now, we hit some bumps today. We weren't on some super smooth roads. We weren't on terrible roads. We were sort of in between. I don't think any of us went, oh my God, it's a handful on the bumps, did we?
No.
All right.
No.
Now,
I found...
We're all a different size. So, you'd have thought one of us might have said.
I was pushing on towards the top of the speed limits, and I must admit, I found a couple of... It jarred a little bit. But I think I probably needed to turn in a bit more preload, because I'm a larger gentleman.
On the quick shifter, a couple of times I was just letting you guys just go ahead and
I had a quick shifter.
Click, click, click. No, it hasn't. The S has got the quick shifter. But what I'm saying is, clutchless changes, second, third, fourth, fifth. You don't need a quick shifter. But it's like everything else. You've got to have a quick shifter on a bike, otherwise it's a pile of poo, isn't it? It's like, why haven't we got a quick shifter,
again,
mate?
In previous videos, I've sort of critiqued the gearbox, but you'd be hard to critique the gearbox on that.
That's what you're used to, isn't it? But I found it fantastic. So you're talking about £2,250 for the S.
Give us the prices.
The standard is 13,500, and the nice one that we all like in there is 15.
This is UK pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I love two-tone paint job, the traditional green and silver Guzzi colour, and I'd love the heated grips. But I wouldn't be prepared to pay 2,250 quid, and I wouldn't be bothered about the flash Olin's suspension. I found that so good.
I think when I order mine, I am going to go for the S because I just love the colours, as you say, Rich. And what's $2.5 grand when you like?
So what colour are you going to when you order mine?
Green and you
for me when you
do
buy mine.
you know what I'm getting you?
Yeah.
I'm getting you a CX500 Euro Sport,
Excellent.
and they did those in two-tone for no extra
And
money.
you still wouldn't be able to keep
And
up,
you
would
park
you?
them together and nobody know the difference.
What about you, John? Tempted?
John's.
I am tempted, yes.
See, John, as you said, you had a greaser, you've now got a V85, and it's a natural progression. So, as a prospective owner, what are your thoughts?
Because John's loaded as well. So.
I certainly am not.
We've seen.
Would I buy one or not? Problem is, I would have to convince my better half.
Yeah, but no, let's put
That's
that mountain of opposition to one side for a minute and just talk hypothetically. Would you buy one?
Yes, I'd love one.
There you go.
So you said that you'd kind of got used to the adventure bike riding position.
Yeah.
And did you find it a challenge with this, or was it just a case of
No,
getting
not
used
at all.
to?
No, it wasn't as low as other sort of non-adventure bikes I've ridden recently. So
I like the Greaso. You rode the Marini, and that
Yes,
was
yeah,
really
I think that's what we need to say as well, is that you can plant your feet flat on the floor.
Yeah.
without the
Absolutely.
seat on.
What I
That's
found
very
after,
important.
I mean, I like big trailies. I like the way they handle, decent ones anyway, and the V85 handles really nicely
Yeah.
for me. What I found hopping onto the V100, it needed a little bit more counter steer, a little
Yeah,
bit more
bit-
body
bit
English,
more
because you haven't got
shove.
the leverage
Yeah.
of the big bars.
But
once you've got
when it
used
was
to that,
over, it's rock steady. And the other thing, when you're kind of towards the upper limit, and it's ridiculous, and I'm going to
what you mean 70 mile an hour?
Yeah, 75 maybe.
Okay.
Might get slated for this, but I had use of a MT10 last year.
Yeah. Yam. Yeah.
When you're pushing on a bit, it sounds stupid, but it actually reminded me of the MT10.
Okay.
That kind of
What?
horizon rushing towards you,
Okay.
kind of chuck it in, vroom, vroom, and then you roll it off a bit, and it becomes
Quite placid.
different
more
bike
placid.
again.
Whereas the MT10, you can't. That's it.
It's an eager dog as
Yeah.
opposed to just doing
Whereas
whatever you
it
want.
does that, and it's nothing like an MT10 would eat for breakfast,
Yeah.
but it's got that spirit.
Yeah, yeah,
If you
no,
want it
you-
at the
you-
end
you-
of the
Brio.
flow. Brio, yeah.
You called it a haystack.
Torque curve, yeah.
Torque curve, yeah.
Lovely meaty mid-range.
Which sort of gives this sort of
Yeah.
like
Which
linear feel
Griso's
to it.
never had. They always, especially with the 8
Yeah.
valves, they were chasing top end a bit, and with
Yeah,
the emissions
yeah,
at the
yeah.
time, they always had a bit of a hole in the torque curve, which was nice because it kind of hit this.
Yeah.
It was a tale of two halves with the Griso
Yeah.
8 valve. Yeah, the bottom end was quite linear, and then it had this rush. Whereas that, you don't get that. What you get is a lovely mid-range, which is, to be honest, we all said, you hop on it, and you after 10 miles, you go, oh, I'd like to ride this to the south of France.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that kind of bike.
The other thing with the torque, as you showed me this morning, is that the direction of the Magneto is opposite to that of the main
Magneto,
shaft.
did you hear that?
Showing your
Ah,
age
right,
there,
yeah,
John.
yeah,
Alternator.
Yeah, that's on the optional extra list, the Magneto. The alternator, yeah, contra
Dynamo,
rotate.
you mean,
Yeah.
Dynamo.
Dynamo. is what I
Dynamo.
meant.
Yeah, there's I think there's a balancer shaft in there, not sure, but the
if I
alternator.
can just qualify that before you explain it. John, as a hobby, drives steam engines on
Yeah,
the.
so everything-
well, he drives the diesel engines on the preserved
Towing
railway.
steam
So that a Magneto is.
1950s technology.
Yeah.
So what we're saying
Yeah.
is, when they engineered this bike, and it shares zero components with the previous generations of big block Guzzis, but it's very much a big block Guzzi, is they put a contra-rotating alternator and possibly a balance shaft. I'm not sure on 100% on that. To counteract some of the torque reaction you get with Guzzis that people like us who've ridden Guzzis for years don't even notice when you're riding.
Yeah, I didn't even notice
But
it.
with that, they've engineered about 50% of the, what was it? Polar moment of inertia.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well,
One thing, just going back a couple of minutes, you asked John his thoughts as a prospective owner, and the point I think needs to be made for people our age who are the target
If it hasn't
market
got a Magneto, I'm not interested.
is the fact that it's, comparing it to an adventure bike, and I know Dave just said he likes the adventure bike dynamics, but if you had to do a long day's riding, say 300, 400, 500 miles, I think we're probably all agreed.
Yeah.
Apart
Yes.
from the
No,
knee
you're
bend,
right.
that's
Yeah,
far
yeah.
more comfortable. You haven't got all the weight going through your backside.
And you also said when you got off it how manageable it was.
Oh, yeah, being a bit lower
Because you're
and-
downsizing because,
Yeah.
you know...
Yeah, I'm typical, you know,
getting-
your knees are
as
knackered,
we
your
all
hips
are.
are knackered,
It's-
you're
yeah.
not as strong as you used to be.
But you found...
Oh, so manageable in comparison to an adventure bike. And I love adventure
So
bikes as well.
Richard's going to buy one, but only if they take moths as currency, because
Yeah.
that's all that's in Richard's wallet.
And I'll buy one if I can convince John's wife that he can buy me one as well, or your wife. Would I buy one? I would love one. If I won the lottery, I would be straight in. Well, there's the wife alarm now.
Yeah, it's gone off the bullshit
You
alarm.
mentioned wife, so the alarm's gone.
Yeah, no, I would buy one. I would love one. I would love one.
Yeah.
And you, Dave?
Yeah, I love them. Would I pay the extra over my V85 or whatever? Possibly. You know, it's a tough call, but in terms of if I was a prospective new bike owner coming out, want a sports tourer, yeah, it'd be top of my list. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
And I
real.
think that's the thing that really struck me about this bike is a balance.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautifully
It's
balanced.
beautifully balanced.
So manageable.
what we're gonna say is
And
it-
what John said when he got on, it felt instantly home because it's balanced.
Yeah.
And it's
And you've got none of the low-speed lurchiness.
Well, there
So
we go.
easy
So we're all going
control.
to buy one.
Well,
We're all-
I think
Okay, let's leave it at that.
You will leave it at that. All right, thank you for watching as always, and
See you next time.
Yeah, see you on the next
Take
one.
care.
So, you know.